Hello, welcome back to another video, and thank you to everyone who has liked, subscribed, commented. Really appreciate it. We've just hit 4,000 subscribers, so thank you. If you do like the content, leave a thumbs up. Feel free to subscribe, see me live out in the field, and see me do stuff like this. Okay, so today we're going to look at my favourite filters for Seascapes. I only use 3 filters. I have an ND8, an ND64 and an ND1000. They're my 3 filters that I use the majority of the time. And what I'll do is I'll just run through how I use my filters and show you when and why I use a certain filter. So the first filter we're going to start with is the ND1000. The ND1000, great for super long exposures while we've still got some light in the sky. So we're looking at getting nice long 30-second exposures, smoothing out that water, make for some really nice black and white images, to tell the truth. Then we'll move on to the ND64, which is probably my go-to filter. I love the ND64 because it allows me to get that ½ second shutter speed, which is my personal favourite shutter speed for Seascapes. And then finally the ND8. The ND8, really great for once the sun starts to set and get a little bit lower in the sky. It's just going to cut down a little bit of light. Okay, so the filters I'm using are K&F concept filters. Now they were quite cheap, so they're not magnetic, they're just screw-in filters. I bought them more of a test than anything, and look, I must admit, I like what they do. Okay, now I'm not sponsored by K&F yet, so if K&F are out there, get in touch. But this one here, this is our 10 stop or ND1000, and as you can see, you can't see through it. Okay, if I hold that up to the camera, you can't see through it. Okay, so that's going to cut out 10 stops of light, which is good when the sun's still quite high and we've got plenty of light and we want to get those long exposures. So that's going to be the first filter I use, and then we'll go to our ND64 and then our ND8. They're the only 3 filters that I really use. I do have a polarizing filter as well, which I'll cover that in another video. Today's all about ND filters. Okay, so the first filter we look at is the ND1000. Okay, so ND1000 is 10 stops. It's going to cut out 10 stops of light. And I'll show you the back of the camera and how you don't need any calculations, you don't need any apps to work it out. Okay, so here's our first scene, and this is where a 10 stop filter can be nice, because what we're going to do is absolutely smooth out all that water. And having something solid in our foreground, whether it's a jetty, pier, some rocks, just something nice and solid to hold the picture together. If you just do it out in the open ocean with no foreground at all, it can just look like a blurry image. So have a nice strong subject as your foreground, something solid, okay, whether it's a rock, a pier, just something solid in your foreground. So that's going to be our anchor point and our point of interest for the photo. Okay, so for starters, I'm going to get my ISO set and my aperture set. With all my Seascapes, I always start at ISO 100, start as low as possible, bump it up if we need to. Okay, aperture, I'm going to set that to f14 just for nice depth of field. So anywhere between f10 to f14 is fairly good for Seascapes. And then I'm just going to change my shutter speed until I can actually see my live view. Okay, now this will vary from camera to camera and will vary how you set up your live view. Okay, and as you can see here, we are still slightly underexposed. So 2 options. Number 1, we can just take our f-stop down, which will let more light in. Okay, so f11, we're kind of perfect about there. The other option is just bump up your ISO. But in this case, ISO 100, f11, 30 seconds, we're good to go. Okay, so now it's just a case of framing up our shot. I do use a 2-second timer. We want to eliminate any camera movement we possibly can. So by having a 2-second timer, I can hit my shutter release, take my hand off, let everything settle, and then 2 seconds it'll take the shot. First thing we need is a steady tripod. If you're working on sand, dig that tripod into the sand so you don't get any movement. If you're on the waterline like this, the tripod will sink as waves hit it. So make sure your tripod is sunk into the sand and nice and steady, because any movement will create blur in our shot. So as that wave comes in, I'm just going to push it down a little. So shooting at f11 where we are, if I focus out on the end of the rock, everything in my foreground is going to be nice and sharp. It's a good hyperfocal distance. Okay, I tend to focus a little bit further into my frame rather than closer. Okay, so again, just watching my histogram, keeping my histogram under control so I don't blow out the sky. Okay, and there's my first shot. Don't be afraid to get in nice and close to your foreground. Okay, really emphasize that water. Not a lot happening out to the left of the frame. So I want all this water movement over the rocks, and that's our foreground interest. Okay, and as I say in a lot of my videos, mix it up. Don't go home with 20 shots exactly the same. Move around a little bit, even if it's just a little bit either left or right. Just move it up so we've got lots of different shots to choose from. Okay, so if you are enjoying what you're seeing, please give it a thumbs up. It does help me get an idea of what people want to see. But this is what you're going to see mainly on my channel, is seascapes and landscape. And I will just run through some pretty basic setups. Try and keep things simple and effective. That's why I'm here. Okay, so now we're going to look at the ND64. Now, I've just lost the light completely. ND64 is going to be too strong. So here's some examples of an ND64 taken in the middle of the day to get that nice water movement. Okay, so ND64 will give us that ½ second shutter speed while we've got plenty of light in the sky. Okay, now that we're sort of close to sunset, we're pretty much right on sunset. Still got plenty of light in the sky. That's where I get my ND8. So ND8 is only 3 stops. It's going to slow down my shutter speed just enough to give me that ½ second shutter speed that I like. Okay, now it's all personal preference. Some people like longer shutter speeds, some people like faster shutter speeds. I try and aim for that ½ second shutter speed, and that's where this filter can come in once we've lost the light and you're still going to get that texture in the water. Okay, so exactly what I did before. Okay, so just by looking at my live view, I've set my shutter speed to ½ second, and all I'm going to do is basically change my aperture and ISO until I get my histogram as far to the right as possible, keeping my highlights under control. So at this stage, F14, ½ second shutter speed, and now we're going for the nice textured water rather than the smooth water. Okay, so what I'm looking for now is that whitewash coming over the rocks to give that cascading waterfall effect. The more whitewash we get, the better. So I'm just going to wait for a big wave to come in so I can see exactly where the whitewash is. Okay, so that's a good wave. That's what I want. Now I can see all that cascade here. Another good wave. And sometimes it's just patience, waiting for these waves to do their thing. The more whitewash we can get in the shot, the better. So now I'm just going to wait for a wave to come in, time it so we get that water rushing out, and you get that nice waterfall effect. Okay, the more whitewash, the better. We really want lots of whitewash, so big waves do work better. Okay, and that one's quite nice. Not a lot of whitewash in this spot, but you sort of get the idea of what I'm looking for. And that one looks okay. There's a good wave. That's what I'm waiting for. A nice big wave. Wait for it to start to run out. Okay, the bigger the wave, the more whitewash we'll get, the better the effect looks. Okay, so it's getting quite dark now. Filter off, same process as before. Filters are good for during the day, so as soon as you lose light, once the sun has set, take your filters off. Exact same process whether you've got a filter on or off. Use your live view so you can see what's happening on the back of the camera. Most importantly, set up your live view so it is actually live view. Every camera will vary from camera to camera. If you find that you're underexposing and overexposing and your live view doesn't change, go into your settings, look for that live view preview. So if you underexpose, everything will get dark. If you overexpose, everything will get bright. Check your camera manufacturer's guide. That's the first thing we need to do, get that set up so we can actually see what's happening on the back of the camera. And when you put a filter on, you'll see exactly what's happening there. So no calculator, no apps. See it all happen on the back of your camera. Okay, and I can see a good spot just down here. So I'm going to concentrate all this whitewash. So now I'm just going to wait for a wave to come in. There's not a lot of whitewash in this spot.